I haven't been this excited about an offensive line since, the Pouncey brothers were on our offensive line. I think that for years, the offensive line has been a weakness for Florida. And it's not just this coaching staff prior as well. It just was kind of always a gamble. And I think for the first time, Florida fans are like, okay, we can put that in the strength category. That's a room we have full faith in, not concerned about it. It's why we haven't been talking about it much this summer, because it's just something we think is shored up, and we're in a good spot.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by our good friends at Titan MRI and Imaging, and coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at the Dooley Dome. Did want to mention about Titan, good friend Joe Colorio. I think Joe and Michelle just yesterday celebrated their 20th anniversary. I want to send happy anniversary wishes to them, but also they're doing a promotion. They're celebrating their 7th anniversary. They're not just Joe and Michelle, but Titan MRI and now Imaging are having their 7th anniversary, and they're giving away 7 $100 gift certificates at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And that's by Wednesday. It's going to be a random drawing. All you have to do to enter, very simple, is like and share. And go on Facebook and like them and share them. And you're in the drawing for a $100 gift certificate at Spurrier's. There'll be 7 of them drawn Wednesday. I'm excited about it. I hope you are. And everybody who watches or listens to this podcast, support the sponsor. But I mean, they're not even asking you for money, man. Believe me, we support the sponsor there. Certainly, Joe has, I think 7 is the number of MRIs I've had. Let's see, ankle, hand, knees several times, back, maybe over 7. All right. So today it'll be a fun show. Ali Peek Wilbur is going to join us. Always love talking to her. I did look this up, and I'll tell her this. I was curious. The other time she was on our show, she was on episode 262. This is now episode 471. So it's been a while, but it's cool to have her on. And then Steve Spurrier will be back on Monday, and then next Thursday, Ralph Russo, the AP college football senior writer. He's the guy in charge of the poll and everything else. So we'll get him on and hopefully have a good time. It's getting a little cloudy here, but the sun is still shining here in the Dooley Dome. Let's get to our Royal Blue starting 5. It is brought to you by our good friend Randy Royal at Royal Blue Yacht Sales. It is a place to go when you need a boat. He has been so busy selling a lot of boats over there in Palataki. And I know he went down to Key West and was working on some stuff there too. So Randy's a good friend, and appreciate him. All right, let's get to number 1 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And, I like to say that, I don't like to say it, it's just a fact that there's never any good news that comes out of fall camp. It's only bad news. And the bad news right now is that Dallas Wilson's hurt. Lower body injury. He's got a lower extremity injury. They're saying somebody was writing this, that he was in a hard cast, which would tell me foot, not ankle, but I don't know. Hey, I just tell us what he is. If it's an ankle, it's a foot, really doesn't matter. Get him well. It's a big loss if he's not ready to go full speed by the time you get to LSU. That's the bottom line. And he needs some reps before that. Now, if they're saying 2 weeks, that's okay. You're going to still be okay. He'll be able to play in the opener. We know what Dallas Wilson could do. You saw it in the spring game, 10 catches. I mean, he was unbelievable. I know it wasn't against first teamers all the time, but whatever. This guy is legit, big body, and we need to see him out there on the field. Not only that, but you're dealing with injuries to Mizell, injuries to the other Wilson, Trey Wilson, minor injuries, but they haven't been able to get out there and play. And Khalil Jackson's still coming back from that ACL. So the wide receiver room's gotten a little thin. However, this is when we talk about the depth. This is the deepest roster Billy Napier's had. This is when it has to show up in practice, because you can't get the reps you need unless guys are going to do the jobs they have. And apparently this kid, and again, I'm going to totally mispronounce this name. I'm going to say it's Muz Tonkara, okay? I'm going to go with that. But apparently he has been lighting it up out there and had a real good camp. And Billy Napier talked about that the other day. You've got other players that can do well. Vernell Brown, obviously. We saw him in the spring game. There's still some young players that can get out there, and other guys will come back. But that's the thing about receivers is you need 8 of them. You can't go into a season with 3 receivers and think you're set. You need like 8 because it is this position where it's very easy to turn an ankle, to get hit hard, and you have to come out for a while. So anyway, that is the news. And like I said, it's not terrible news, but it's not the greatest news. Everything else has been, you know, uneventful, and that's the way you want it. You want an uneventful fall. And the coaches are going to tell you that this guy's looking good and everything, and you have to go with what they say. But anyway, let's go to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5, which is that just the overall vibe. I've been trying to find out the overall vibe. I talked to several people about it, people who are going out there and watching practice and are able to go to practice. And the great thing is that Billy has been very positive, and he always is positive. This is a guy who believes in positivity. The best way to get a guy to play well is tell him he's playing well versus just tell him he's playing terrible. And that's the Brian Kelly, Jimbo Fisher approach, is to yell at a guy. He's not that way. He very rarely yells. But he seems to be doing it the right way and getting these guys to, they're bought in and they've got good players. And now you find out about the depth. Lagway's back out practicing. Everything's fine. Everything's going good there. He's got a sleeve on his leg, but the overall vibe is one of positivity. It really is, and it's one that, hey, look, this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. This could be really special, guys. We're tired of not being relevant, and we haven't been relevant for a long time. I think when I was watching the 2 episode, what was it, 262, I was saying that then. But Florida still hasn't been relevant. It's important to us, and we all love it, and we want it to be great, and we want it to be relevant. We want game day to have to think about coming here again. I don't care if they come or not. It's not a matter of whether they come. I want them to think about coming. I want them to say, hey, should we go to Gainesville? And that's the big thing that has to happen. And it's got to happen early, and it can't wait till the first open date. We've talked about that. I'm not going to get into that anymore. But I will say this. The overall vibe is a good one coming out of camp. And just keep that up. That's all you need to really know. Let's move along to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, which is that the coaches poll came out. And the Mighty Gators are 17. They asked Billy about that, and he said, hey, about right. Yeah, 17's fine. I don't want them any higher, and I think it'd be disrespectful to get them any lower, considering what they think they have. Now, I will tell you this: I have been around teams and heard vibes, and this isn't just Florida. It's not just Billy. It's not just Steve Spurrier. It's not just anybody. I'm just saying I've been covering teams in my time where they thought they had a really good team, and it turned out they did not. The typical one would be Alabama '99, when they were talking about winning the national championship and went 3-9. It is hard. Sometimes you think you have a grip on your team and you don't. But I think Napier knows that this is a team that could be 17th in the country. But the funny thing is, and this is the irony of it, I guess, is it irony or coincidence? Florida's 17th in the country. And if you go by the teams that are ranked ahead of them, they'd be 7th in the SEC in the coaches poll. So 17th in the country doesn't get you in the playoffs. 7th in the SEC doesn't win you diddly poo. But I think Florida fans would take that right now. They would take finishing 17th in the country and get into a better quality of bowl game. I think, look, the goal is to make the playoff. There's no doubt about it. Everybody knows that. It's no big secret. But I've explained how they have to do it. Got to win the games you're supposed to win. Split the other 6. You go 9-3. The wins you would have would be good enough to get you in. But we'll see what happens. Let's get to number 3. I'm sorry. I'm See, when you can't read your writing, that becomes a problem. Number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5, math is usually my strong suit, but today maybe it's not. All right, the hoop schedule came out officially. Now, we already knew who Florida was playing, but now we know when they're playing them and how it matches up. It's a very good home schedule. It's going to be a lot of. This is the home schedule kind of Florida had in football last year. Although I will say this, a home schedule that includes Tennessee, FSU, and Texas is not a bad home schedule. It's a fun home schedule. There's plenty of options to go to games. Now, of course, going Mississippi State, Long Island, um, you know, there's some games that aren't going to be overwhelming, but we'll see how it works out. Anyway, basketball, you got, I just wanted to give you these games. You open the season, the SEC season at Missouri January 3rd, and then you play Tennessee at home. Auburn is January 24th in Gainesville. Alabama the 31st in Gainesville. So that's consecutive Saturdays, I believe it is, with a huge home game. And then Kentucky, February 14th, Valentine's Day. I'll just wear my Valentine stuff to that game and let the Kentucky fans see it. And I'll wear a I Love Todd Golden heart or something like that. Nah, I wouldn't do that. But anyway, it's going to be a fun basketball season. It won't be as fun as last year. I can tell you. There's no way it could be as fun as last year. They lost 4 games last year. They'll probably lose more than 4 this year. They've got a good team. We all know that. The key is get the tournament with a good seed and see where it goes from there. We know what can happen. But that was a great team last year with unbelievable players. So, I mean, it'll still, then the pressure is going to be worse on them. So just let them enjoy it and we'll have fun. You already know the non-conference schedule, all the games they've got. It's going to be great for the players because they get to go to a lot of different places and play that, especially in the non-con, where you get to go to a lot of places like Vegas and everything. And that should be fun for them. And you get to play really quality teams, which they scheduled last year. However, those teams turned out to suck on ice. FSU, North Carolina, Arizona State. God, who else was it? Was it West Virginia? Virginia? Maybe it wasn't West Virginia. Somebody else like that. But anyway, it just didn't work out. But the schedule is really interesting this year. And I think it sets up favorably. I know that Chris Harry in his piece, he said, it's kind of favorable because they've got all those games at home. That's the key. That's what you got to do. All right. And then finally, number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5, we like to talk about Christine and Steve Wendig and the work they do with the Olympic sports. They're a big supporter of Olympic sports. So today we're going to talk about one thing that happened in the Olympic sports this weekend, or this week, which is the volleyball poll came out, the one that everybody, the American Volleyball Coaches of America, dodge, dip, dive, and dunk. Anyway, so they had the first poll of the year, and Florida is ranked 16th. Hey, so they're 17th in football, 16th in basketball. I would assume unranked in soccer. Texas, but here's the thing. Remember, and I don't know how many of you know Mary Wise very well or were around her 15, 20 years ago like I was, covered a couple Final Fours as well. But Mary used to always say, man, we need this league to get better so the competition will be better and our strength of schedule will get better. Even though we can go out and play all these other teams, we still need this league to get better. Well, it's gotten better. And like if the SEC takes anything seriously, it gets better. So ahead of Florida from the SEC, Texas is number 5. Thanks for nothing there. 7th is Kentucky, and 9th is Texas A&M. So that's going to be, it's the league got better. That's not why she's gone. She just, we know the reason she's gone. We've talked about it before. She just wanted to get away from what was happening with college volleyball. But I will say this is the 35th straight year that Florida has been ranked in the preseason poll. So that's a pretty impressive stat there. All right. That is going to do it for our Royal Blue starting 5. We appreciate all of our great sponsors, of course. And like I said, if you want to go to the Titan MRI and imaging website, their Facebook page, like and share. You have a chance to win $100. 7 different cards are going to give away on Wednesday. Random drawing, so that'll be cool. All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back with our guest, Ali Peek Wilbur. Always love talking to her. We'll talk about, I got some good yes, no ways, or maybe for her too. But we'll talk a little bit about what she thinks about this Gator team and about being a mom, because she does that in spades, man. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI Imaging and MRI. it's MRI and Imaging, Pat. Coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today.
Coach, you know what always impressed me, how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grille. Ballyhoo Grille prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Tebow Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. It is a great pleasure to bring on one of the great podcasters of all time, Ali Peek Wilbur. How you doing, Ali? You doing all right?
I'm doing good, Pat. How are you doing?
It was great seeing you at the Tony Barnhart ceremony, which, you know, I thought was Tony Barnhart and Jerry, but it turned out to be Tony.
Yeah, that that was awesome. That was really, really neat. It was cool to see all of you guys. I feel like I haven't seen everybody in a long time. And, every time I talk about this night, I'm like, I feel like I got accidentally placed on a text message thread and invited to a party that I was not qualified to be at. But it was definitely an awesome night.
It was great seeing you and Eric, and of course, you guys. It was great to get away from the kids for a night, right?
Yeah, it was. It was good. They got to stay home with Nana, so it was good.
Yeah. Let's talk about what's going on. Of course, your podcast, Inside Gator Football, a peek inside Gator Football. And I know you just had one just dropped, and you're going to have a lot more coming up. You're busy. You're a busy mom,
Yes.
PTA president, everything like that. But, there's no good news that ever comes out of camp. Never.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always bad news. And so the Wilson injury, it's not good news, that's for sure.
Sure.
Hopefully it'll be something he can come back from in time for the start of the season, but we'll see how that goes. And then Trayon Webb, that's an injury he's been dealing with.
hmm Yeah, it's kind of a nagging injury. And even it sounds like, can be back by the time SEC play starts if all goes, as planned and stays on schedule, which, that's huge too, right? The first 2 games, we're hoping we just get some young guys reps and we stay injury free. I think it's nice to have a little bit of tune up in the beginning of the season, and that will really benefit us if we are getting guys like Webb back by the time that we kick off the SEC play, which is really what matters. But injury, you're right, exactly right. There's never any good news out of camp. We're not going to believe it if you say,
Right.
oh, this team is so talented, they're so amazing, it's the best team we've ever had. We all roll our eyes to that. So the only thing that can come out of it that we believe is injuries, and it's never good, but it's a violent game, and it sounds like it's a pretty minor injury to Wilson. So I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, and they've got depth. And this is what I talked about earlier. Is this you're going to find out where your depth is at wide receiver, for example. I
Mhm.
mean, you brought in these kids that are supposed to be really good, Vernell Brown Jr. and guys like that, and the kid Tonkaro, I guess how you pronounce it, who's apparently been really good. But that's how you find out whether you really
Sure.
have true depth or not.
Well, and if we were really going to be relying on a true freshman, then we were going to have issues anyway. I think it's almost an added bonus when your true freshman can contribute immediately. It's not something you should be relying on 4 years into your coaching tenure. There's depth there. There's older depth there. So if we get Wilson and he gets to be, a spark plug for us, I think that's awesome. But I don't know that they were planning on that to for sure 100% be the case when they recruited him. They have great wide receiver talent in that room.
Yeah, and again, Trey Wilson's a little banged up, but I think he'll be back fine.
Yep.
He's the guy, and he and Mizell. I mean, if you can go out there with Mizell and the 2 Wilsons as your 3 receivers, and then you got Hayden Hanson at tight end, and you got Jaden Ball in the backfield, and DJ is your quarterback, and you got an offensive line that's pretty good. I don't know how that team's going to get stopped.
I don't know how you stop.
We all know it will get stopped at some point, but
Sure.
it is a potential to be a great offense.
Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't been this excited about an offensive line since, the Pouncey brothers were on our offensive line. I think that for years, the offensive line has been a weakness for Florida. And it's not just this coaching staff, prior as well. It just was kind of always a gamble. And I think for the first time, Florida fans are like, okay, we can put that in the strength category. That's a room we have full faith in, not concerned about it. It's why we haven't been talking about it much this summer, because it's just something we think is shored up, and we're in a good spot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And of course, having Jake Slaughter come back is big.
Huge.
And he has a chance to be something. Austin Barber's got a chance to be a first or second round draft pick. So, and again, those guys got to lead by example too.
Yep. They do. And I think they will. And I just think that unit is so talented, but also so connected and gelled, and they mesh with DJ incredibly well. I'm so excited to say that that's a strength. I cannot tell you the last time we've been able to say that.
No, absolutely. Well, coaches said that, but turned out not to be true. I remember.
Correct. And maybe we're jaded at that. Maybe that's part of it.
McElwain was talking up his offensive line before the year he ended up getting fired. And one reason he got fired is the offensive line was terrible.
It's terrible, yeah.
Yeah, that Michigan game showed that. But you never know. But again, that goes back to what you're talking about. you can't really believe what coaches say
Mhm.
during, especially during fall camp, and
Right.
we'll see how it all works out. But you look around the country, and everybody's got these little nagging injuries. You just hope nobody gets hurt really bad.
Yeah.
But I was making this point earlier. Florida was picked 17th in the coaches poll that came out. That would put them the seventh best SEC team. So I don't know if it matters if you're 17th and seventh. I don't know that you're happy or sad.
I mean, I think all preseason polls are absurd. I know why we do them. I just think I don't like them. I think the first poll should come out in like week 6. Then we kind of know what we're dealing with. But I find it interesting that there are teams ahead of us, including Ole Miss and LSU, who Florida finished the season stronger than, and return more pieces than. So I that's part of the reason I just think these polls are bogus to start the season, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But as Nick Saban would say, it's rat poison. Use it. Use that as motivation. Hey guys, we've got teams listed ahead of us that we took care of business again. They don't respect you. Go out and show them. Like that's a great motivational tool.
Well, the reason we have polls is because the coaches rank Texas 1 and Ohio State 2, and guess what? They play the first game.
Weird. It's money.
That's right. So they're trying to figure out how can we make it 1 versus 2.
Mm-hmm.
It happens every year almost.
Yep.
They have a game like that. I did want to ask you. I see you've got a vintage helmet back there with the old F. That's just how old I am. When I started watching Gator games, that was the helmet they wore. Now, by the time you got there, they had face masks and
They did. I actually, when I was touring the facility, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I realized that my grandfather's first year at Florida was the first year that they didn't have leather helmets.
Really?
Which I thought was really, they've got that huge helmet wall, and it's the first time I had ever put that together. But yes, his first year was the first year of, I guess, modern helmets, so to speak, which is kind of cool.
Wow. So did they have face masks in?
I'd have to go back and look at the wall to see if it had a face mask on it or not. But it just stood out to me that it was the first time it wasn't leather.
Sometimes when you look at those old pictures
Mhm.
of guys in the leather helmets, and you're like, didn't anybody just think, hey, let's not be able to poke them in the eye. Let's try to
Right,
stop
like,
them.
it is astounding that the evolution took as much time as it did. You would think that this isn't rocket science, but
But I will say this, I think that tells you that college football, as big as it wasn't nationally big. It was
Yeah.
really big, and now it's
Yeah.
nationally big.
nationally big. Yeah. Well, and think about, you'd have pictures in the newspaper, but stuff wasn't on TV. So unless you went and physically watched a game, you probably didn't even really know what they wore on their head.
Yeah. No, back in the olden days when I was a kid, you had to list Otis Boggs, and it was Florida, Alabama from,
Mm-hmm.
you weren't watching that game on TV. There was one game a week on TV. That was it.
Yeah,
And now you got what, 940 games. And I know you're ready for this season to
I
start.
am.
You're
I am.
fired up like everybody is, including your husband. Now I'm sure he can tell you all about the new kicker from Michigan or the new punter. So
New punter. Yep. Yeah, he's excited. He worked a camp with him. The Townsends do a camp in Tampa every year for high
Yeah.
school kids, and Eric always works it with them. And so all of Florida's specialists were there, and he kind of got a, inside look at it. And he's really confident in what we're going to do. I'm excited. I hope we continue to see improvement at special teams. I think our specialists are great. I hope we can have the right number of men on the field every single special teams play this season. That will be huge. And then we take it seriously.
It's a good goal to shoot for.
That's, I didn't realize we had to make that a goal, but we do have to make that a goal. But I do think also attitudes towards special teams. Urban was really great at it. And honestly, Ron Zook was really great at it too, in that, special teams mattered and your stars wanted to play special teams. And I think that that's a top-down philosophy. I hope that is one that Napier is really instilling in guys, because it's important. It's a third of the game. If you want to take a break, don't do it during special teams. There's particularly I think Florida's going to score a lot of points this year. So maybe this year will be different than Napier's previous seasons. But if you're going to play in a tight game, you should 100% make sure that your special teams units are strong, because that could be the difference for you. And, I hope it is, but in a positive way for Florida this season.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think there are going to be a lot of close games for Florida this year. I really do.
The schedule is insane. I can't, I do think we're going to score a lot of points, but we play a lot of really talented teams.
Well, that's what I've been saying is I think there are 6 games you should win, right? And that's Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
It's correctly pronounced Long Island. So
Okay.
USF, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and I say Tennessee and FSU because,
Yeah.
now you got to split the other 6.
Yep.
And you're in the playoff.
Yep.
So, that would be my goal going into the season. But
Yeah.
you brought up special teams. This is a funny story, and I don't know if you were watching the Gators back then, but Ron Zook got fired,
Mm-hmm.
and they played a bowl game against Miami.
Yeah.
They drove down. They had a field goal attempt, and it
was in Atlanta, the Peach Bowl,
Yeah.
right? I was there.
And you were there, and the
I was
kicker
there.
only went back 6 yards instead of 7 because there was no special teams coach, and it
Yep.
got blocked. And Devin Hester ran it back for a touchdown.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, Zuck, we need Zuck.
We needed Zuck. Yep. Charlie Strong was our interim head coach that game, if I remember correctly. Yeah. That Eric played in that. I went to Atlanta and watched it. And, all those guys were so sad about Zook being fired, which is always so interesting to me. And, but Urban obviously got them to buy in very quickly, and turn that around. But I actually loved Zook. They did have no choice. That's true.
Eric's going to tell me about Matt Drill sometime. I want to hear what his story is. I don't know if they made the kickers go as hard as
they did. They did.
And hopefully nobody threw up. Ahmad Black goes, man, they're showing that thing on Swamp Kings and it's meat going up all the time. And it's like, go up,
Yeah.
Try to avoid it. All right. So we talked a lot about the offense here. I want to ask you a quick question about the defense and what you think. Where's your biggest concern defensively? You're replacing Shamar James, you're replacing some other guys in the secondary with Jason Marshall, guys like that. But what's your biggest concern?
So I think secondary is probably my biggest concern. I think linebacker is one of Florida's strengths this season. I'm very confident in that room. I think Florida's front 7 should be very good. Now, the caveat to the being concerned about the secondary is that your secondary can look worse if your front 7 don't play well. And I think that sometimes in the past, we have seen that and we've blamed the secondary. But when you're asking, these guys to cover their man for 7 seconds instead of, 4, because there's no push up the middle, it maybe makes the wrong guys look bad. So secondary, but that's based on the assumption that the front 7 are going to be good. And I do think they will, but there is, I guess, some question marks there too, because we lost some key pieces. Linebacker is definitely where I'm absolutely the most confident in. And I do think we saw the scheme change halfway through the season last year. Maybe not the scheme, but the intensity level of the scheme changed halfway through. And I really do think that was the linchpin to the entire thing changing and turning around, is the fire that was lit under defense. I have to think that was Ron Roberts. Obviously, they never really came out and confirmed that. But our seats are in the north end zone. They put all the former players if you buy season tickets. So we were in there and we were watching Texas A&M warm up. And then we watched Florida's defense warm up. And Eric looked at me and was like, we are going to get killed. Because Texas A&M warmed up with such intensity. They were going at it with each other. They were going at it with their coaches. Like, they just were on fire. And you watched Florida very much just go through the motions, warming up defensively, but also no coaches correcting that either, which I think was the part that stood out to Eric, was like, how is a coach not just on that player's butt to, be into this a little bit more? I do think we saw that change, because I watched Florida warm up against everybody else, that we played at home the rest of the season, and something flipped in that. And I do think that was Ron Roberts getting a little bit more control, and hopefully that continues. If our defense plays like they did the second half of the season, Florida's going to win a lot of ball games. If we start like we started the first half of the season last year, it's not going to be good the first few games.
That's why I believe that this year is a referendum on the coaching, because
it is.
They can't start bad again. They can't start slow again. They've got to be better in the red zone. These are all things that are coaching fixes. These aren't
Yes.
It's not about the players.
And on paper, your team is incredibly talented. On paper, it's all your guys.
Yep.
So there's no more of the excuse, I'm coaching other people's players. They're still learning my system. I just need to get higher ranked players in place. All of that has now happened, much to Napier's credit, right? He has done a great job plucking the pieces that he wants for his system. So now whatever happens is on coaching, for good or for bad. And if Florida wins 9 or 10 games, then the pitch that Napier gave us in his very first press conference about building from the ground up and going slow and steady to build it right will have worked. And he will have been correct. Now, if we start the way that we did last year, it's going to have a hard time getting people to buy in, for an additional year. I do love that we have warm-up games with LIU and USF, and that is different than the last couple of seasons. Gives you just a little bit of time to kind of ramp up to high caliber game speed. And I do think that's a benefit. It's hard to open with Miami and Utah, and those were our previous 3 draws in a row. So that should be a positive. They are going into LSU with 2 wins under their belt. God forbid, some crazy happenings. They should be ready. They should be prepared. And if they're not, that is a coaching reflection.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I've said this, and I know Billy understands it, because he even addressed it, that they've got to start faster, but they've never gotten to October 1st without 2 losses. Under Napier. So they've got to do better at that. Ali Peek Wilbur coming to us on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, and it is time for us to play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with it. I called her, when I introduced her to my wife, I called her Ali, because that's my nickname for you. And you go, no, it's Ali. And I go, I know, but I call you Ali. But then you said you were named after Ali.
My dad loved Muhammad Ali. And so when they were my full name's Alexandra. And so when they were trying to decide what nickname to go with, he wanted Ali because he loves Muhammad Ali.
So does he still call you Ali?
Every once in a while, yes.
Okay. So I wasn't that far out of place.
You were not at all. You were not at all.
All right. Yes, No Way, or Maybe is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. Go in there and say, hey, I listened to that girl on Pat Dooley's podcast the other day. Her name was Allie or Ollie or something like that. You get free French fries with your order if you do that. All right. Number 1 on Yes, No Way, or Maybe for Ali Peek Wilbur. You are looking forward to the LSU Clemson game more than Ohio State, Texas.
No way.
Yeah.
I'd say Texas, Ohio State. I am ready for.
I am too. And somebody was talking about the first rounders that are going to be playing this game, and it sounded like an old FSU Miami game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've got to be seeing this. Now, it's the same time as the Long Island game.
Yeah.
That's why I have 3 TVs in my office.
There you go.
All right, number 2 on Yes, No Way, or Maybe. Urban Meyer goes into the Ring of Honor this year.
Yes, he should. And if he doesn't, that's a travesty. He belongs in the Ring of Honor.
I think it's time.
I do too.
I think there have been things that have gotten in the way in the past, and obviously the Jaguar thing got in the way. But I mean, he talks nothing but positive about Florida, and I think it's time. It's time to do that.
I think it's time.
And if you're worried about people booing him, worry about the people that are booing him, not that it's coming out there. And there will be a few knuckleheads that do
for
that.
sure.
All right. Finally, Yes, No, Where, Maybe number 3. You have heard that your husband has used smelling salts, which are now not being distributed by the NFL, but you can still have them. Did Eric ever use?
Yes. Yes. Eric did use smelling salts.
Well, I mean, I remember him having a concussion. Did he have a concussion?
He did. He did. Yep. And
tackle on a punt.
Yes. He used smelling salts, and I saw some clarification last night where they said basically the teams will no longer be providing them. The players can bring their own, but I did see some player freak out at first when they thought they were banned completely.
Oh, it was George Kittle. Yeah, George
Yeah.
Kittle. God, this is the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
I think he may be using it for something else.
He's using them too much. Maybe that's the.
Hey, Ali, it's always great talking to you, man. It was great seeing you the other night, and love having you on the show. Anything else you need to plug other than your podcast? Which there's one dropped right now, and they'll be coming
More
up.
coming. Yeah, no, that's it. I'm excited for this season. Thanks for having me on. This is always a special treat, and hopefully we have lots of positive things to talk about in the next, coming couple months.
You were on episode 262. Now you're on 471. Just if you want to do the math and figure it out,
Okay.
That's one we'll get you next time. But we'll get you again during the season. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294. Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It is great to have great guests, and we have had, I put our guests up against anybody's, although everybody who does podcasts seems to have great guests, but we really appreciate everybody who comes on. Still trying to line up some good ones for football season, and that's something we'll talk about. All right. Let us get to our Adams Rib Co. Gator of the Week. Our Gator of the Week brought to you by Adams Rib Co., your place to go for the best ribs in town. And also, Fridays, Nana's Nuggets. I'm telling you, they melt in your mouth. I'll be there on Friday having them. I think my wife is going somewhere. She's got something going on, so I'm just going to settle in at Adams and enjoy my day. Our Gator of the Week this week is Jaden Ball. And here's the reason. Jaden Ball was selected as one of the freaks that Bruce Feldman does every year. And, of course, back in the old days, we came up with the nickname The Freak for Javon Curse. And that kind of led to, I think, a lot of people referring to people as freaks. We're taking full credit for it, the media boys. Anyway, not only was he named a freak, he was also named a first-team Sporting News All-American. And that's pretty cool. He's that good. Yeah, and so we'll see if he ends up being that good. But that is really cool that he got both those. Now, again, neither one of them comes with a plaque or a trophy or anything. It's just people know how good he is. And then when they start talking about he's the strongest and maybe the fastest guy on the whole team, I cannot wait to watch what he's able to do. And that will be the thing. We're always talking, and we were talking about with the wide receiver injuries and everything. And obviously you need that. You need Lagway to be at full strength, all that. But maybe you just hand the ball to Jaden Ball and let that experienced offensive line block for him. Now, not at the goal line, you don't. I will say this. I was watching a Kentucky game, and sometimes you forget how games go on, and there was just the play calling down there wasn't good. And that's where I think Billy's got to get better. But anyway, that's not the point. Jaden Ball is legit, and he is our Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend. All right, let's get to our Leonardo's quick pick. And we do this every week. Leonardo's at Millhopper. We appreciate Kyle over there. And I think we're ready to pull somebody next Thursday is when we're going to do it. Yes, in honor of the being closer to the first game. When is the first game? It's not next Saturday, but it's the following Saturday. So we're only 2 weeks away. Yeah, if you want to count that game. But I'm looking forward to it. I just want the culture shock of Iowa State, Kansas State's and Dublin's going to be enough for me. Anyway, our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. We're going to take the Jaguar game. The Jaguars are playing the Steelers in Jacksonville. It's Jaguars are giving 2.5. Preseason games, it tends to be right around that. I don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. So the pick is you just make a pick and hope for the best, right? And qualify. That's the big thing. Then you get to qualify for our Adams or for our Leonardo's quick pick contest, and we'll pull a $25 winner on Thursday, and then we'll mail it out to them. All right, let us move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialist. Give them a call, and if you do, and you sign up with them, you get 10% off your order if you mention that you listen to or watch another Dooley Noted podcast. So our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week is ESPN. It belongs to ESPN because everything belongs to ESPN now. They have bought everything. The WWE, they purchased the NFL Network, the NFL Red Zone, which is, of course, I would think a big moneymaker. I don't know how all this is going to work. I was reading up on it, some of it, and my feeling is that I'm not going to have to change anything. I'm not a huge red zone guy, only because then that's all you watch and you never get the feeling for a game. I'll go watch it the first week. But the cool thing would be, and I'm not sure how I feel about this, because they're already talking about they're probably going to do a red zone for college football. Now, if you watch college baseball, you know that they kind of do that for baseball. I can't remember what it's called, but they have a where they look in at all the regionals, and they do it for the regionals. But I think for football, it'll be interesting. I tell you what, you get the 4 screens going, but I have 3 screens going anyway. The difference is I get to choose what I put on. But hey, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. All I know is ESPN now. Weren't they having money problems? And now they just seem to be floating in money. But anyway, they are our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week because it is a smart move. And again, you can call them at 727-383-1677 and achieve and maintain your weight loss. Let us get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things brought to you by our good friends at Hesser and Kipke. Jen and Ken do a great job over there. And you can reach them at 352-339-9920 or www.hklawfl.com for all your workers' comp and family law needs. Hesser and Kipke. 3 things. Number 1 is there will be a female umpire at the Braves Marlins games this weekend. 3 of them, for example. I think one's a doubleheader on Saturday and then Sunday. They got to make up some games. But it's the first female umpire. Jen Powell, I think is the way you say her name, Powell. She went to Hofstra. She was a softball player at Hofstra. I read up on her a little bit. Really interesting. It's the first female. I mean, gosh, basketball's had female refs for 10 years. I think football, same. It feels like they have, but baseball last. Look, I will say this. Whether she's male or female, she can't be any worse than anybody who's up there now. Because you watch every game and you go, that ball was not a strike. I mean, you can look at the squares up there. And we're going to get there eventually, I think, where we have it mechanized, but it'll be by appeal. And I'm fine with all that. But anyway, she's had to deal with that. Anyway, she's from New Jersey, of course, and we'll see. She's probably tough enough to handle all these people. And maybe she can sing the sing the Star Spangled Banner like in the Naked Gun as well. All right. She is the first, and it'll be in the Braves Marlins game. They gave her the Braves so she wouldn't have to worry about anybody not swinging at pitches in the dirt. Number 2 on our Royal Blue, or I'm sorry, on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Travis Hunter, it's pretty clear. And Liam Cohen said it, man. This is happening. He's going to play both ways. They're practicing him both ways. In fact, today, as they were practicing this morning, he was in the wide receiver jersey. I guess it's blue or teal and white. Teal is wide receivers, white, but he's playing DB. In fact, I think they listed him as a starter at wide receiver and backup at corner. Now, I think corner is his best position, but look, they know better than me, and they've got him, and they can do whatever they want with him. But it's kind of cool. I'm curious to see how this all works out. Because if he gets hurt, everybody's going to go, you can't do that in the NFL. If he's rookie of the year, everybody's going to say, hey, maybe we need to start thinking about playing guys both ways. You never know. People will overreact no matter what happens. I do know that. So let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. This was an interesting story last night. Gavin Williams had a no-hitter going into the 9th. And Soto for the Mets hits a homer, and so he doesn't get the no-hitter. And that's significant because the Mets lost. Yes, that's always a good thing. However, what is also significant is nobody's pitched a no-hitter this year. Wasn't it just last year where it felt like they were like 6 a month? Nobody's done it this year. I think a lot of it has to do. In fact, the last one was a combined one from last year. I think it was in September. It's hard to throw no hitters, but it's really hard to pitch 9 innings. Complete games are so rare. Anyway, this guy had a chance to do it, didn't do it. So still no nos in Major League Baseball so far this year. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, brought to you by Ken and Jennifer. All right, let's move along to our Los Landeros smooth move of the week. Los Landeros tequila Go Beyond, my favorite tequila, and Urban Meyer's favorite tequila. And it's really good stuff, believe me. In fact, we should bring some, because Randy Royal and I have been talking about getting together and having a tequila, because we tended to do that a lot of times. And I think we'll have to have the Los Landeros. There's no question about it. Well, the smooth move of the weekend, by no doubt about it, is to the coaches who voted on the coaches poll. Now, we know coaches really don't vote on the coaches poll as a rule. They go, put this team on and fill it out to whatever you want to do, the sports information guy. Sometimes they take it seriously. Sometimes they don't. When the season starts, they really don't. They don't care. But still, what did they do? Texas won, Ohio State second. Who plays the first big weekend of the season? I'm calling it week 2, but it's week 1 for a lot of people. Texas and Ohio State. They put them 1 and 2. A matchup of 1 and 2. This is why polls do matter. Because if it was 1 and 9, you wouldn't be as excited. That just ramps it up. I'm not saying you're not up to an 11 on the excitement scale. I'm about a 9.5 right now up for this game. I was probably a 9 if it had been 2 versus 8 or something like that. But this is a great game, and it just becomes that much bigger when it's 1 versus 2. And it will be something in one of those teams' history forever, because if Ohio State wins that game, that'll be part of their stats. Well, here's what they did against number 1 teams. That's the way it works, man. So 1 versus 2, smooth move, coaches, to get that done, or SIDs. Los Landeros, smooth move of the weekend. Let us move along to this, that, and the other. It comes to you every Thursday, and it is brought to you by our good friends at Notary Joe's. Notary Joe's, a mobile notary that will come right to your house and do the work for you. Joseph Newton does a great job. You can see the numbers there, but just reach him at 863-990-4884 or notaryjoe80@gmail.com. And by Ballyhoo Grille. Ballyhoo Grille, where I just was the other day. Yes, in fact, I was there and had a great time with my friends Robbie, Jill, and Chris Harry. We had several beers and a little food. I had the chicken sandwich and made it hot, and it was delish. Food's always good at Ballyhoo Grill, and by Darr Schackow Insurance, the place to go. If you have any questions about your home, auto, commercial, or life needs, go to Darr Schackow Insurance. Tell them Pat Dooley sent you. Okay, this, that, and the other. But this is Teddy Bridgewater, after he got done with his pro career, decided he was going to go coach high school football. So he went down to Miami Northwestern, a powerhouse team. He knows the area very well, obviously, and won the state championship last year. Well, that is that he got suspended because he was given impermissible benefits to his team. Now, he was just trying to help them. These are kids in tough neighborhoods sometimes, needed a ride, needed $10 to go get a Burger King sandwich, something like that. You can understand why a coach and look, I'm sure coaches do it all the time. I think maybe he tried to expense it or something. That's how they found out. It doesn't really matter. In the world of NIL, he's still not allowed to do it. There's a better way to do it, but he didn't do it, so they suspended him. And the other, of course, is now he's a Bucks quarterback. Well, not the Bucks quarterback, but third team, I would think. But he loves being there. I saw him practicing the other day. That's weird. That's a weird story. Yeah, weird story. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I remember the day I was in Tampa working out at the Marriott there. I was staying there for Florida's bowl game. And all of a sudden, Charlie Strong walks in to work out. And I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "Oh, I'm staying over there, but they don't have a good workout place." He said I could do it here. And he was recruiting still for Louisville. And I was asking about Bridgewater, and he goes, "Man, he's the real deal." And of course, this guy had a great career in the NFL, and maybe it's continuing, and was clearly a pretty good coach. But we'll see what happens with him going forward. But certainly not a bad guy in any way. I interviewing him, I remember for Florida, played them in the bowl game. He was really interesting guy to talk to too. All right, that is our this, that, and the other for today, brought to you by Notary Joe, by Ballyhoo Grill, and by Darr Schackow Insurance. Okay, let's tell you about the Gainesville Quarterback Club. We're coming up on our next meeting. It's been a fun time so far with the speakers that we have had. On the 26th, that Tuesday, it'll be Katie Turner. Can't wait to hear what she's got to say. And then after that, it'll be Alex Brown, so that'll be a lot of fun. All the greats are coming. Kevin Carter, Will Muschamp, Scott Strickland. There's so many great speakers. They've got Noah Brandeis is coming. We still got one they're working on, one big timer. We'll see if that works out. Todd Golden for the Golden Gala. You need to be there. Actually, it's named the Golden Gala. I didn't even think about that. Maybe that's why they moved him to that date. But anyway, I can't wait to hear what Todd has to say as well. The Gainesville Quarterback Club, I'm telling you, you need to become a member. It is a great speaker group, great food at the Best Western out there, great fellowship, and great networking too. Believe me, a lot of people were there for the networking. So it's great. It's really cool place, man. I love it there, and can't wait to get back on the 26th. All right, let us move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Our Sponge of the Week, his name is Roman Anthony. You may not have heard of him. Well, that's because you don't pay attention to Gallo Car Wash, because they would have told you all about him. Now, he plays for the Red Sox. His major league debut was 58 days ago, and he's really been good since he came up. So he soaked it up, man. He soaked it up because they already signed him to a 8-year, $130 million contract. Now, I don't know how much of it would, I don't know how it's all deferred and everything, but 58 days into your career, you get an 8-year contract. That's a pretty good deal. Now, he was the number one pick. They think he's going to be great. He could be the next great player for the Red Sox. But when you're soaking up that big of a contract and you've only I mean, it was an extension, actually, but when you've only played 58 games, that's pretty impressive. So he is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the weekend, or the week. Let us get to our Swamp Games of the Weekend, brought to you by the Swamp Restaurant, the place to go to watch all of your Great games. They have TVs everywhere, including that big screen out there. In fact, they usually have two big screens for the biggest games outside, and that's the weather's starting to cool down, maybe. But once the sun sets, it's really not. It's pretty nice out there. In fact, we do our radio show out there sometimes, and probably will be again this year, hopefully. All right, hopefully. Never know. All right, let's talk about the NFL. Oh, it's so great. There's so many games. I don't know. I don't know how many you're going to be able to watch because there's going to be so many. Everybody's playing. Again, I don't know your interest level, but if you're a fantasy football player, you better be paying attention to it. Saturday is Pittsburgh at Jacksonville at 7:00 on ABC. And Tennessee Tampa is 7:30, and that is on FanDuel's channel. I'm pretty sure. I for some reason did not write that down. Sunday, Minnesota at Chicago, 4:00 on the NFL channel. Baseball wise, you got Saturday Chicago at St. Louis on Fox at 7:15. Sunday on ESPN, same two teams are playing, so you get to watch a lot of that. Golf will be on the Golf Channel and NBC. Before we close, I want to finish with a new sponsor that we have. We talked about it a little bit last week, but MyBookie is the name of this sponsor, and we appreciate them coming on board. You can go on there and just it's a place to go for all your gaming needs. It's just whether it's you want to bet, whether you want to bet on a game, or whether you want to get involved in casino betting. MyBookie.ag is the place to go. And if you use the promo code Dooley, Dooley, is how you spell it, all caps, and you bet $100, you get $50 extra. So you get to add to that bonus. They also have a casino deposit match up to $750. So there's a lot of stuff going on at mybookie.com or .ag, mybookie.ag. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make my first bet, and I'm going to do it obviously I'm not going to do it on the computer, but I'll do it later on the computer. But I'm going to tell you what it is. I am going with Chicago to beat Miami. Chicago is a 3-point favorite. This is a Sunday game. And here's my thinking on this. I think Chicago wants to come out and show things are different now. We got a lot of things going on. Now, I don't know that anybody's going to play or anybody's not going to play. Where I think the Miami's not sure what's going on. They've got the distraction of Tyreek and everything. Now, I don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. Usually starters don't play in that first game, but that's my first one. Let's see how it goes and see how I do. And look, you get involved with it as well at mybookie.ag, and you will, like I said, use the Dooley promo code. It's good for all of us if you do that, all right? So that'll do it for our show today. We didn't mention Mark Gator, our new sponsor, but we'll do another top 12. It's already changed in my mind. I still, some of the ones I did, I can't figure out why I did them, but I'm going to go back and change it. So Monday, the Mark Gator for Pepin Realty, will have him on, or we'll have that segment on again to talk about that. And of course, Coach Spurrier will be here as well. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks to Ali. Appreciate her. Thanks to all of you for listening, for watching, and thanks to Zach, most especially, for doing a great job as he always does. I am Pat Dooley for another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.